Sorrentino, who's online with us. She is the Education Emergency Global Lead from Plan International. The resolution recognizes the different impact of attacks on education on girls and focuses on their specific needs, urging member states to take steps to address girls' equal enjoyment of the right to education. Could you give us some examples of how this is being implemented on the ground? What challenges and opportunities is your organization facing? And are there any lessons learned that can be applied in the future?
Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So thank you very much for inviting me to this event and share Plan International learnings on the implementation of the Resolution 2601. Plan International has been actively engaged in advancing children's education in conflict and emergency context, including the advocacy and implementation of the Safe School Declaration across West and Central Africa since 2016. This commitment extends to numerous other nations where our organization is actively involved. As of June 2023, the Regional Education Group has reported that 13,263 schools are now closed in West and Central Africa because of insecurity. That data includes the countries of Central Sahel, the country composed of the Lake Chad Basin, and the Central African Republic. These are dire numbers. When schools are closed, destroyed, or used by armed groups, girls are more likely than boys to never return to school. Keeping girls out of school can lead to several consequences. Plan International briefed the UN Security Council at their annual Children and Armed Conflict debate in June 2021 on the lived realities of girls in conflict with the focus on girls in Northeast Nigeria. We were pleased to see the passage of Security Council Resolution 2601 a few months later in October 2021. Resolution 2601 represented a pivotal milestone as it stands as a groundbreaking initiative singularly focused on the safeguarding of education in conflict. The resolution accentuates the profound significance of education as a linchpin for fostering and maintaining peace and security. It also draws attention on the alarming escalation of assaults on education institutions, with a particular emphasis on the intentional victimization of girls and the profound disruption of their educational processes. The remarkable fact that 99 nations lend their support to this resolution underscores the true worldwide commitment of to this momentous cause. Nevertheless, the practical challenges in the field necessitate further action and diligent efforts. Firstly, attacks on girls and women and their education often take the form of sexual violence. During my first mission to the Borno State in Nigeria in 2017, I witnessed the impact on girls of attacks on schools firsthand. During that time, the Education Working Group reported that non-state armed group Boko Haram abducted at least 213 girls from school, and 600 teachers were killed. Abducted girls who were freed or managed to escape from Boko Haram were stigmatized on their return in the community because they were pregnant or already with child. Secondly, attacks on education can be devastating. In 2021, at Plan International, we listened to adolescent girls and boys in the north and southwest regions of Cameroon, where conflict undermined their security at all levels and threatened their education, their lives, and their health. Children reporting being afraid of going to school and health centers due to military presence. They feared being recruited by armed groups, and adolescent girls feared sexual violence, including rape. Adolescent girls reported rape due to the crisis where someone points a gun at your hand and does whatever he likes. I returned to Cameroon this past September. Unfortunately, access to education in these regions remains a huge challenge. Back in 2021, when the girls were asked what they want, many responded with security peace, and ceasefire. More than 2 years later, the conflict rages on, with no ceasefire and no visible peace process. We therefore call on United Nations member states to support genuine efforts for a peaceful solution to the Anglophone region crisis in Cameroon, and commit to inclusive peace-building initiatives at all levels that include the representation and active participation of children, adolescent girls, and young women. As a practitioner, I see also that in many situations worldwide where children's education in conflict is threatened, what is also really needed is more action on the ground to support community education stakeholders, including teachers and learners who are directly impacted by attacks on schools and occupation by military forces of schools and education facilities. Plan International has been supporting school management committees, parent teachers association, and children's and youth clubs to develop and implement safe school safety plans to prevent and address violence in school settings, including gender-responsive measures to violation perpetrated by armed forces deployed to schools. Furthermore, we have been working with Ministry of Education in Nigeria and in Cameroon to develop and scale up certified alternative education programs that allow out-of-school children and adolescents to return to and continue their education. We call on governments to commit themselves more to implement the Safe School Declaration by planning and funding it locally, and to take all necessary measures to address barriers to education for out-of-school adolescent girls and boys, in particular adolescent mothers and pregnant girls. Although many African countries have adopted laws and policies that relate to girls' education, many still lack the specific frameworks that allow for pregnant students and adolescent mothers to stay in school or continue their education free from discriminatory barriers. The political commitment must translate into practice on the ground and strengthen the humanitarian development principles approach. Monitoring and reporting of attacks on education must include incidents of sexual violence and specific threats to female students and teachers. More support and funding is needed to ensure that those mechanisms are established in countries where the Children and Armed Conflict Monitoring and Reporting Mechanism on grave violation is not available, as well as to better support existing monitoring and reporting mechanisms with sufficient resources. We must immediately address the specific targeting of girls in conflict and the use of girls as weapons of war. Girls associated with armed forces and armed groups have unique experiences, face specific risks, and must be included in the design of gender and age-responsive programs and policies. Girls and women who have experienced sexual violence, abduction, or recruitment and use by armed forces and armed groups require targeted intervention to support their reintegration into society. They also deserve justice by holding perpetrators accountable for their actions. The Security Council, member states, and the UN must do better in conflict prevention. Conflicts today that could have been prevented or cut short are lasting for years. We urge you to uphold your commitment to mainstream child protection in conflict prevention, conflict and post-conflict situation with the aim of sustaining peace and preventing conflict. Finally, we echo worldwide calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza and for all parties to conflict to respect international humanitarian law and end attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructures, including schools, hospitals, and refugee camps. The suffering of children and civilians must end now. Thank you.